The Sri Lanka Navy conducted a special operation to chase away Indian poaching trawlers from Sri Lankan waters in the early hours today. The Northern Naval Command deployed its fast attack craft to chase away a cluster of Indian poaching trawlers, having spotted they were engaging in illegal fishing in Sri Lankan waters off Kankasunture this morning. The Sri Lanka Navy said that an attempt was made to detain the Indian fishermen who violated the country's territorial waters. The Sri Lanka Navy fast attack craft had moved closer to the Indian vessel, and a sailor from the Navy Special Boat Squadron sustained critical injuries due to the aggressive maneuvers of an Indian trawler resisting its seizure. The Sri Lanka Navy confirmed that the sailor succumbed to his injuries after being admitted to the teaching hospital in Jaffna. The operation resulted in the seizure of an Indian poaching trawler and apprehension of 10 Indian fishermen. The Indian fishermen had set out to sea from Nagapatnam in India.
Even in the past, Navy officers had to face similar situations when detaining Indian fishermen, poaching in Sri Lankan waters and also chasing away their trawlers. Unfortunately, a sailor was injured in this incident and succumbed to his injuries upon admission to the hospital.
The sailor from the Navy Special Boat Squadron who passed away was Priyantha Ratnayaka, a resident of Hippauwa Ibbagamua. He was 41 years old at the time of his demise. Priyantha Ratnayaka joined the Sri Lanka Navy in 2004 and showed real promise as a diver. He was father to a 6-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter.
At about 12 in the night, Lahiru had contacted his parents and told them that such an incident had taken place. He said that their son had faced an accident and had fallen from the boat. He said that his hip had fractured and that their son was hospitalized. He then called again at about 2 in the morning and told them that their son had passed away. He had initially joined the catering division. The officers at the Navy had identified his talents in swimming, and then he was absorbed to the SBS or the Special Boat Squadron. He was a talented officer. He had even been given foreign training. He is another officer who had brought much glory to the Sri Lanka Navy.
The mortal remains of the deceased sailor were placed at the Jaffna Hospital this evening. Fisher folk in the north expressed their condolences over his passing.
Our Navy only arrested Indian fisher folk who are poaching in the Sea of Sri Lanka. In the incident that occurred in Kankasunture this morning too, the Navy had the option of attacking the boats and injuring them. But they did not do it. All the Navy did was arrest the Indian fisher folk. The Navy officer who passed away is not just a citizen of Sri Lanka, but a hero who protected the borders of Sri Lanka. He passed away when he went to stop foreigners from violating our sovereignty. Ranil Wickremesinghe, when he was Prime Minister, said that if the maritime border is violated, they must be shot at. Now, when he is the president, this incident had occurred at a time when he is doing everything India wants. What is the response of the president to the death of this sailor? Every time when Indian fisherfolk are arrested in Sri Lanka, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu demands that the fisherfolk and their trawlers be released. But he never asks his fisherfolk to refrain from crossing the maritime border. He too should be held responsible for the death of this sailor. If this incident had happened in the Indian Sea, it would have turned out very differently. Indian fisherfolk engaging in fishing in Sri Lankan waters must be stopped immediately.
Meanwhile, Foreign Minister, President's Counsel Ali Sabri told Newsfirst that this incident was discussed during a meeting between the High Commissioner of Sri Lanka to India and the Indian Minister of External Affairs S. Jaishankar. The Sri Lankan High Commissioner to India had highlighted the need to resolve the issue regarding the fishermen as soon as possible. President's Counsel Ali Sabri said that the Indian Minister of External Affairs highlighted the need for the fisheries ministries of the two countries to work together to resolve the matter. A total of 214 Indian fisherfolk have been arrested so far this year for poaching in the Sea of Sri Lanka. The spokesperson for the Sri Lanka Navy said that 28 Indian fishing trawlers have also been seized. The Indo-Sri Lanka maritime boundary was set in the year 1974. Then, in 1979, the regulation of foreign fishing boats was introduced and it was meaningfully enforced by the Amendment of Act No. 1 of 2018, passed in 2018. However, the issue of Indian fisherfolk poaching in the Sea of Sri Lanka has been growing over several decades. There is no viable solution yet. Fisheries Association point out that illegal fishing by Indian fisherfolk in the Sea of Sri Lanka causes an annual loss of about 10 billion rupees.